Hey there everyone, it's Scurvy back again with another video, and today we have the Season 2 routes. So, let's get started with Halls of Infusion. So, as you can see in this first room, we're just gonna do this right here, all in one pull. Then, we're gonna kill this separately, though if you want you can combine it with this. But since this is being made early on in the season, it's probably better to pull this separately, considering there's one of those annoying containment apparatuses. Whatever. Just make sure you have interrupts for this whole section right here. And you're basically just going to go around and around in a circle. Make sure you especially interrupt the Geomancers, because they have a Earth Shield that you want to not let cast. But if it does cast, I think you could spell steal it. I'm not sure. And then just interrupt this right here. And then you're going to kill the first boss. Now originally, I was going to have the route be this section right here. But then I realized that in doing this dungeon, these guys caused a lot of unnecessary deaths. So I decided to do what the community was doing and just pull all of this instead. It's much easier. You only have, like, let's see, much less frogs to deal with. I know that. And then make sure as the tank, you don't get stunned here. I know I have a few ways to not get stunned. And then again, I also just like to pop Death and Decay right here too. And then right after, you're going to keep Amy interrupted here, the Flame Caller ad. And then make sure you kill Cyrax. Yeah, it's me, Cyrax! That's what I like to call him. I know it's Cyraz, but I can't help but make the jokes. Just make sure you keep Amy interrupted and kill Cyraz later. Now, we're basically just gonna go in a straight line here. There's nothing you're gonna be skipping. Though, in tradition, I have to add an extra pole because MDT somehow bugs out every time I want to do one of these. Now, with this next section here, there's a lot of bullshit you gotta think about, especially with these Glacial Proto-Drakes. They currently do a lot of damage right now as of recording. I wonder if they're gonna get nerfed soon, because, yeah, it's not gonna be fun. Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna move a little. There we go. And then you also have these patrolling ads. You really don't want them to go up here while the Proto-Dragon's still alive. So just do as the route says, 16, 17, 18, 19. Until you get some gear, don't think about mixing these mobs together. And then you're going to kill the third boss. Just a quick tip for this boss. Make sure you stand behind the full ice things. It will have a little bit of a beam of light. So just stand behind that and you'll be good for Hailstorm. Then you're just going to do the gauntlet as normal. Don't think about doing anything too crazy. And make sure you keep Saria interrupted. And then the Primal Tsunami. Make sure you don't die in the hallway section. There's like only... Oh yeah, there's a few. But not here. There's like 3. Make sure you dodge the waves. They actually nerfed the damage and the speed that they go at, so it's actually a little easier. That's actually a bit of a nerf to this fight. Let's go to Brackenhide Hollow. This fucking mess of a dungeon. So, basically, you're going to want to bring a priest here. I have a lot of points. Well, it's mainly just 1 now. But a soothe is always helpful here. Particularly in this area. You don't really want to be pulling this, lest you want to be overcount. Now, let's get back to the beginning of this dungeon here. So, if you noticed, I don't have this patrolling thing marked, and I don't have this one marked either. The reason why I did that is this is probably pretty efficient as is. Then, for this next pull, you're actually going to want to grab the patrolling mob here. It will come pretty fast, so don't worry too much about not grabbing it. And then pull this right here. Then you're basically just going to be going down a straight line. Then what you want to do is kill this right here. Kill this stuff right here. That's pretty standard. And then you're gonna want to grab the patrolling mobs here. Mainly because, yeah, when opening the cage, it could take a little time, and these guys are gonna be there, but it's a mess. It's a lot of patrolling mobs here. Not the biggest fan. And then you're also gonna want to grab this right here. Then you're going to want to kill this because it's the first boss, and the gate is locked behind it, and you need it for completion. Now, my recommendation, keep Trick Totem interrupted, but take out Gnash Tooth, or Gash Tooth. I don't know why I thought there was an N in there. But take out Gash Tooth first. Rira, Hackclaw, and the others are pretty easy to deal with. Gash Tooth... Oh, wait, I think Trick Totem also makes a Hex. But, yeah, the Gash Tooth and Trick Totem are pretty annoying. Some would kill Trick Totem first, but then Gash Tooth does a lot of damage. So, yeah, you gotta think about which way you want to kill them. Next, originally I was gonna have the route take us here, but I think sometimes it got a little too hard. And then also, oh fuck, I don't know why I have this marked. Probably because it's patrolling and for count. But whatever. Who knows? You're probably going to be way over count where you don't even need to worry about this. Brackenhide has a bit of a count problem where basically you just run through here like normal and you get to the end and you're going to be over count. Now, enough dilly-dallying. You're relatively going to be going straight around here, grabbing this shit right here. You're going to be doing quite a bit of big pulls, or big-ish pulls, I should say. This is where the majority of the count comes from, because it's a lot easier, especially as a Blood Death Knight, dealing with magic damage than it is with dealing with constant dots and all that other shit over here. Just go up here, fight the second boss who got nerfed. Thank goodness. Yeah, thank goodness he doesn't cast abilities while players are being consumed anymore. It was just way too much. I was also planning on killing Gutshot right here first instead of Treemouth, but considering we're going here, I figured it would just be easier. And also, this gauntlet just isn't all that fun. So basically, we're just going to be going straight. Here, you need a Soothe or a Shroud. I don't know if the Stalker guy has Stealth, but you could probably at least Soothe him. That would be the smarter thing to do. Basically, go... Let's see, yep. Just go straight. You might need to kill this if you're under count, but make sure you kill the bear and these two vultures as well. Then you kill Gutshot, and basically you want to pull everything around this area except for the Vile Rot Hexers. These guys, even on Tyrannical, in this clump of 4, it's really, really something. Then, what you'd want to do for this little area, I'd say you could Soothe this pack right here, kill this, and then go to Decatriarch. And that's Brackenhide Hollow. It's quite the dungeon. I hope they do a little bit more tuning with it, considering that you get to like 80% count by the time you get to Treemouth, which I don't think that's a good thing. I think it tells you that the trash around here probably is worth a little too much. Let's go to Uldaman. This one is pretty straightforward, though there are some differences between fortified and tyrannical weeks. So with this one, feel free to pull this whole room. It's very easy to deal with. I don't know why I made it two separate pulls. I guess that's just how I like things. Grab these geomancers and these basilisks. And then feel free to pull the trash here. Since I made this route for tyrannical, might as well just go over the slight differences. Instead of going to the first boss right here, you're actually going to be going right here, kill this, this, and this, and then you're actually going to be fighting the second boss first, because on Tyrannical Week, Bromok is a lot harder than the Lost Dwarves. Then after, you're going to be killing the Dwarves. You're going to be backtracking a little, but it is better for time. Now on Fortified, go ahead and take care of the Vikings first, instead of the Trog. I don't know why I said Vikings. I know it's a reference to that old Blizzard game, but let's continue. So, basically, you're just going to be killing all this normally. Then, just kill this Refty Custodian right here. You don't want to pull these mobs around it. And then you're also going to kill Sentinel Talandris. Now, tip of advice for this boss, you actually can use stun abilities here to remove stacks of Indomitable. You basically don't ever want that Enrage ability to go off, or else we're dead. You want the boss to run into the orbs, or you want to use Interrupt abilities. Now, next, there's actually going to be quite a bit of big pulls right here. Here and here. Though sometimes I like to grab this one too. I don't think I'm going to be doing this for Fortified Week. But on Tyrannical, you absolutely can get away with that. Then, you could also do this pull right here for Fortified. Either or, it's not bad to use cooldowns at either of those places. Then, just going to be killing this right here. Don't mind the Niffin. You're also going to be killing this together. Just make sure you keep these bats interrupted. Kill this boss right here. It's pretty simple. Just don't get caught in the fire, basically. Yeah, it's the classic WoW principle of don't stand in the fire. Then, you're basically going to be going straight. Why the fuck is this guy not marked? You're going to be killing him as well. MDT bugging out again. But you're basically going to be going straight down here. And feel free to get creative with this pull right here. And then, just go down this gauntlet here. You're probably going to be pulling the whelps anyways, but that's whatever. Kill these two Time Weavers, and then you'll be able to kill this dragon right here, Chrono Lord Deos. Make sure you keep the sand a little bit farther away. So this is largely based on tank positioning and also DPS positioning. Healer positioning too matters. You don't want to be so overwhelmed with the sand that you're just not able to do any damage. It's a bit of a tight damage check, but it's pretty easy at the end of the day. Now, let's go to Neltharus. So, another easy route, just remember this. Don't combine this or this. Just pull these guys separately. Then, you pull this. Now, with the Overseer mob right here, he's going to be patrolling. He'll most likely be at the front, so you could pull these Phoenixes alongside the Overseer. Then you're going to want to pull this right here. These two mobs here. If you want, you could combine with these two. I wouldn't recommend it. Could get a little bit hectic. Then you're going to kill Chargath. So, recommendation for this fight, make sure you keep the chains, like, I wouldn't say stacked, but at least in an easy to follow line. It's a lot easier for your tank. So, if you're not a mecha gnome, you're going to go around here, avoiding trying to get this stuff down. Then you're going to go here, and then here. But since I'm a mecha gnome, I could open the door. If you have a rogue in your party, they should also do the same thing. Open this door. It's much easier. Kill this mob right here. And then this room, it's pretty easy. You just combine this right here. Pull that. Now, you can pull this guy separately. I'd recommend you pull him separately on fortified weeks, because he could do quite a bit of damage. And then you could grab these two mobs right here. Although I'd recommend you could also do something like this, this, and then this on fortified. It's probably the same amount of difficulty as killing him. And you save a little time. Then you're going to go around here, grab this shit right here. Pull 14. I do make it pretty explicit that you have to pull both of these. It's mainly for count. These Forge Rot monstrosities are worth quite a bit of count. And then some people, you can pull the boss and all this trash together and use Bloodlust there. It might not be a bad use of Bloodlust if you have it up after the first boss. Not likely you will. So if you don't have Bloodlust up, or Hero, pull these separately. And then once you're done with that, you're just going to kill these lava bearers. And don't worry about this guy, these guys, they'll pop up later. Now, feel free to combine this right here. And then I'm going to be pulling this pack of 3. And then these ore elementals, and then this pack of 5. And then you're gonna have to deal with this fucking mammoth. So, the mammoth. My tip of advice for the mammoth. Oh, almost forgot. There we go. So, under no circumstance should he be under the lava. That's almost a wipe. If he's in the lava, pop a defensive. Then it's basically just a straight line from here. Then, with Warlord Sarga, make sure you use the treasure you find immediately. Also bring a mage or a shaman or anyone else who could dispel curses. It's quite useful here. Now, let's go to one of the older dungeons, Neltharion's Lair. I actually haven't played this one until this season, so let's see. What do we do here? First, just grab all this shit right here. And then grab these two Drogbar. Though I think this one might get pulled as well. And if that happens, I mean, you'll still be okay. You'll be a little overcount. But you're still good. Use Hero for this boss. I very much recommend it. Because it takes a while. Now, basically, after this, you want to skip this whole thing right here. And just go immediately here. Afterwards, go here and here. And then kill this whole area except for that one little shaper. Then, you're going to kill Ularog. Tip of advice. Try your best to dodge the avalanches. I know they didn't give it a visual effect yet like they did with the trash mob. I don't know why they didn't do that. But just be mindful of that. And when your health gets too low, use like a health stone or a health pot. If you do pull this, or maybe something a little extra, don't worry about pulling this right here. Then you're just going to go in a straight line. Now, for Neuraxis, oh boy, I am not the biggest fan of this boss, even after the nerfs. But it's doable now. Definitely, if you don't have Lust here, you could certainly use it here. Though some people elect to use it at Dargrul. My tip of advice, don't get eaten. It's that simple. Don't get eaten. And then also make sure you have a poison dispel. So priest is really useful here. Monks as well. Once you're done with that, you're going to be going down here. Now, you can combine this and this together and then have the Dominator pulled separately. And then afterwards, you want to pull this right here and this right here. It's pretty trash efficient. Then you're going to kill Dargrul. Tip of advice for Dargrul. Remember to bring the golem into one of the crystals. It will stun it and it will make it a lot easier to damage. Let's go to Freehold. You know, I've actually did this dungeon before. I played during BFA, but I wasn't making videos in that time. I was very much young and, oh, why am I trying to recollect on better days? Let's get to the route. So, no matter what week you do, this is basically standard. Everybody does this giant pull no matter what week. It's the same thing that happened with BFA. You did that giant pull regardless. Next, you pull this on its own and then this on its own. Do be careful about the bird taking a dump on you. It actually deals damage for I don't know why. But anyways, so for this first boss, you actually can dispel the debuff that it basically can give you. And then make sure you dodge Sharkbait and interrupt the Rejuvenating Brew, or Revitalizing Brew, whatever it's called. Interrupt that. Pull this guy on his own. Then, basically, you could just pull all this shit right here. Make sure you get these deck hands, too. They're quite important. You don't need to grab this one, though, because he's on patrol. And you could also add this with the Vermin Trapper. You might not want to do this on Fortified, but on Tyrannical, it's fair game. With this, on Fortified, you might want to pull separately. And then these two mobs separately. And then afterwards, depending or not if you have Bloodlust up or Hero. I'm Alliance, I really should be saying Hero. Pull these separately. They could be quite annoying to deal with, especially with a pack as big as that. Though, sometimes I do feel a little gutsy and decide to pull this on top of this. Make sure you grab these deck hands as well. And then, you're always going to have... Captain Jolly will basically always be on your side now. They actually changed it so it's not RNG anymore. So you're always going to be fighting Eudora, and you're always going to be fighting Raoul. My recommendation, burst down Eudora, because she is still very annoying. Then, afterwards, you're going to pull this shit right here. I think pull 13 is the Crusher. Yep, it's the Crusher. But you're basically going to be pulling these two packs right here. And then you're also going to be pulling... You're basically going to be going across this bridge. Pulling this. And on Fortified weeks, pull this guy separately. Doing all this, 8 mobs, can be quite annoying. Then feel free to grab the extra Crusher. Then, start the RP. Though, if you have a stealth class, you certainly can do the RP early. Or with the pig and all that. That way you'll immediately have the Tortolan to take care of when you're done fighting the second boss. Then you're going to kill the third boss, which is pretty easy. Just make sure you feed the sharks the meat, and you'll be good. and get out of the Sharknado. And they finally added a visualizer for that. Basically, up here, you're basically gonna be going straight. Don't worry about like having to drag the last boss over here. It's actually better that you have room to fight Harlan now, unlike BFA. So, my tip for Harlan Sweet, sorry for the long pause there. They actually added a new ability where it's a physical damage ability and it gives you a dot. Healers, pay attention to that. It could get quite deadly on Tyrannical, especially when everybody gets it for the last phase. Now, let's go to the Underrot. So this is another dungeon that I did back in BFA. So I know the general idea of the route, though they have changed it a little, considering they added a few mobs, took some out, got rid of the bullshit RNG at this first part. Now you'll always be fighting 4 mobs here, and not randomly 7. So first pull, you could grab all this together. Doesn't matter what week it is. Just make sure you avoid the cleave of the Blood Matron and the AoE of the Maggot. Kill this separately from all this on both weeks. It's just safer. And kill this separately from this. It's not a smart idea to have the Blood Matron just enrage on this befouled spirit right here. Then you're gonna kill the first boss. Okay, I don't know why I don't have the bosses here. So it's after pull 4. There we go. That's much better. Once you kill that first boss, tip of advice, avoid the AoE. That's basically what that boss is. You're gonna be going down here, here. Then you could basically kill this whole room. I have everything highlighted at once. You're not going to be doing everything here in a pull. Unless you're a mad lad, like the people in the MDI did back in the day, and probably are going to do again. Just pull this whole room, use Bloodlust, and pull the boss on top of it. Once you're done with Cragmaw, you're going to want to move on to here. With Cragmaw, tip of advice, squash the maggots. I will say it again. Squash the maggots. They apply a physical damage debuff and damage taken increase debuff. It hurts a lot. You're going to want to pull this separately because you're going to be wanting to keep the Death Speaker interrupted. And they actually added a new ability with the Grotesque Horror. It's just another kick you need to do. It's an AoE attack that actually hurts a lot. If you don't kick it, you're basically dead after like a few ticks. And you're going to be pulling all this stuff separately as well. It's really not a good idea to mix pulls here. Oh my god, why? MDT is just bugging out on me. Then you're going to kill the third boss, Boar Collar Zancha. Now, with Zancha, I actually feel like he's gotten tougher since BFA. So, my tip of advice, if you have an immunity who could clear the mushrooms, use that. Especially after that first wave of mushrooms. Tanks like me, you could also basically soak at least a few of the mushrooms and then have disease dispel, priest, monk. I think most classes can dispel disease. Now, feel free to combine this pull and this pull. It's gonna be, I mean, you're gonna be pulling it anyways, but if you can, don't be afraid to use stuns on this one, because you're already gonna have a lot of kicks you need to deal with the Defiler. Next, you're gonna have to deal with this. Now, they actually added a Grotesque Horror, which wasn't in the Season 4 version or any version of Underrot before. And then after, you're going to want to pull the singular Grotesque Horror. Make sure, if you have a priest, soothe this Corruptor. It doesn't hurt to keep him distracted, and so you don't pull him. Then, Once you're done with that, take care of this pack right here. They added a grotesque horror right here, so that way you have something to use your interrupts on. And then, oh my god, MDT just did not mark any of the fucking bosses. So that happens when you update it, I guess. Then you want to kill this Unbound Abomination. Now, it's remained unchanged since last time, so that's a good thing, though I will say the added visual indicators are nice. It will do a lot of damage, so make sure everybody stands under that yellow circle that a player can get, and it will dispel for you. That way you don't have to have like a mass dispel or something. And finally, let's get to the Vortex Pinnacle, shall we? This one is an interesting dungeon. It's an old Cataclysm dungeon that's been revamped for Dragonflight. So I'm probably going to go a bit more in depth here, considering not everybody knows what needs to be done. Basically, these minstrel, you're basically going to be going in a straight line this whole time, so I think mob explanations are better here. So these armored minstrels, they are basically heavy melee hitters. Oh yeah, unfortified, don't do this pull. Have these two separated. Even on tyrannical, they could hurt. That's why I didn't do this the first week. But as the weeks go on, you can absolutely combine this on tyrannical. Now, these basically just do a lot of melee damage. These wild vortexes and gust soldiers, keep them interrupted. And then also these minstrels, they actually have a deflection shield, so just make sure you're not casting in front of it, or else you'll deal damage to yourself. And pull this stuff right here. Already told you what these gust soldiers and wild vortexes do. So you pull this right here. Now, I marked the Lurking Tempest, because what you want to do with the Lurking Tempest is you're not going to be able to kill it. But what you can do is that you basically look at it and it goes away. You basically want to keep looking at it so it doesn't cast. Because if it casts, it hurts. Next up we have the Cloud Prince. Now, the Cloud Prince creates like a little bit of an AoE. Don't stand in that AoE. Afterwards, you're going to want to keep looking at that Lurking Tempest. And you're going to have 2 Cloud Princes to deal with. Next, you're going to be dealing with the first boss. Don't stand in any of like the shield. Don't stand in any of the electric bubbles created by the tornado shields. You're going to get a nasty dot. And it's also a lot of AoE ticking damage. You're also going to have a lot of these Lurking Tempests spawn. And you basically want to be looking at them at all times. Don't let them get their casts off. Next up, we have the Turbulent Squalls. Basically, you just want to keep them interrupted. Though you're also going to be pulling the Empyrean Assassins on top of it. So what these Empyrean Assassins do, they will teleport behind you and say, "Nothing personnel, kid." But they also have a cast called Ethereal. Interrupt that, or else they get a massive damage reduction. And then we have this right here. Pull that normally. Oh yeah, can't believe I almost forgot to mention this. You also have a young Storm Dragon to deal with. When you pull them, they will create a healing well. And make sure the party stands in the healing well. I think except the tank, but I stand in it too. Basically, you want to dodge its breath, and you also want to stay in that healing thing when it does a AoE burst. Now, in Fortified, you might want to pull the Storm Dragon separately, or maybe just 2 of these Imperial Assassins, but on Tyrannical, go crazy. Then after, you're basically going to be pulling this whole bridge section right here, which there is also an Empyrean assassin, I think, on these corners. Now, for the second boss, it took me a little bit of time to understand what it does, what it is. Basically, you're gonna be having this wind that is constantly throughout the fight. It's constant throughout the fight. You want to face where the wind is blowing behind you, because you'll get a massive haste debuff and movement speed increase. Now, there's also another ability. There's these tornadoes that are around the area. Don't go into them immediately. You're going to be knocked up high into the air, and you're going to have a slow falling, which isn't the greatest when you're trying to deal damage. But there is an ability. It summons like, one of those rings that, Soamzi, I think is his name. Yeah, Soamzi summons in the first wing of Tazavesh. You basically don't want to get hit by that. It does a lot of damage, and it also silences you for 5 seconds. Though, considering I am a Death Knight, I could just use Anti-Magic Shell, and I could just walk right through it and continue damage. That's basically the fight. There's also a breath mechanic too. Just don't get hit by that. Next up, we have these ads. So, my recommendation, keep the Temple Adepts interrupted. The Servants of Assad are going to charge, and then make sure you also interrupt the Executor of the Caliph when it casts, what is it? I think Rallying Cry, because then it gives it quite a bit of health. The trash, quite a bit of health. Once you get up here, you're going to have a new mob to deal with, the Minister of Air. What you want to do when it casts, I think Lightning Lash is what it's called. It's got a little electrical triangle here. Stand in that, and you won't take any damage. If you don't stand in there, yeah, it's not gonna be fun. You're gonna die, basically. And then you have these little Skyfall stars. Just damage them. They just do random bolts of damage to people. Now, you could absolutely do this if you're an MDI madman. If you could do this pull together, but you have 2 Temple Adepts, and then on top of that, let's see, is there another one? Nah, it's only you just have only these 2. You gotta keep these 2 kicked constantly, and on top of that, you have an Executor of the Caliph. And then for this pull, you have 2 Executors of the Caliph and a Minister of Air. So, once again, be careful on this pull in particular. Some people get caught out by the Minister of Air, and they just forget to go on the electrical triangle. Then, you got this right here, already explained that. Now with Assad, they actually gave him a visual for his AoE pulse ability. Though, the main thing you need to worry about with Assad is the ad that he summons and the little electrical triangle he spawns that you need to stand in to basically not take any damage. And it's a pretty simple fight. Just make sure you don't die. And well, that's the routes. Hopefully you're going to find them useful. And of course, there's always going to be timestamps. So, I will see y'all in the next video. Or, I got something cooking up for y'all soon. If you haven't seen a certain new tab that I have on my channel, it says live. Ooh, what could that mean? You're just going to have to find out soon. Well, see you then.